Hello everyone, hi, this is Mita, your astrology journalist, because I break the news before the news even happen. I do using astrology. Now this is a Synastry expert channel. Here I deal with all types of relationships. I look at your relationship with your lover, your husband, your wife, your family, your crush, your boss, your enemy. Every relationship is on my focus. I also do assess your fit within an organization through my organization Synastry. This is whereby I look at, are you going to be happy at this company? Are they going to be happy at this company? And of course, if you are an HR manager, and you do hiring, I also do offer my services to organizations. I have a special page on my website for organizations whereby you can contact me and have a similar services. Now, I also look at the relationship between you and a location. Now, say you want to relocate and you're not sure if you're going to be successful in your endeavors and what type of challenges you're going to face, you contact me and I give you a heads up. So all relationships are my business, including your ex or somebody that you are in a divorce process with right now. Also your competitor and your side person. I wanted to look at the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th. Why? Of August, right? Why? Because remember in my previous video, I mentioned that the 10th becomes the D-Day for a lot of people. However, it does spill over into the 11th. Why? Because Mercury is stationary on these days. So from the 10th around 9:30 at night, this is when Mercury will stop moving or seem like it stopped moving altogether, and same around the 11th until later hours of the 11th, and then it starts to launch forward. Now the 12th becomes quite critical in terms, remember, context for us is relationships. Yes, I also do look at geopolitical synastry, and this is what I also highly specialize in terms of making accurate predictions, relatively accurate predictions, because I have to say relatively in order to remain between the acceptable lines. So a relatively accurate predictions regarding to what is going to happen in the countries and the leaderships. I look at those relationships as well. So now when we talk about relationships, all of these domains that I've given you are going to be affected on the 10th, 11th, and the 12th. What is a big event that is happening except Mercury being stationary? I mean, Mercury has been stationary for so many times, 4 times a year. So what is special about this time around? It is special because at the same time, we're going to have Venus and Jupiter tightly conjunct, literally on top of each other on these dates, and in Gemini. So this only happens only how many times? Like every once in 12 years. So when it comes to Gemini, remember I'm being specific on the sign. Now, what it tells us is definitely there will be huge announcements on this day. Huge announcements, whether it is in your intimate relationship or in a big scale, like a geopolitical ground. Whoa, whoa, whoa. But the story does not end here. What is another factor that makes these days very special and very critical? It is that the Venus and the Jupiter are coming to the tip of the Adra Nakshatra. Therefore, they are completing all of these floods, all of this fire. We've been seeing the winds, the crying, the shattering of glass, shattering of bones, shattering of dreams. They are now coming up to close this chapter in Gemini. So it is a hopeful ending, but it will not end, obviously with a harmonious theme. It will still give, the final bang of this whole Adra Nakshatra that we've been seeing, like the theme basically that we've been seeing. So I do expect, particularly on the 12th, things like flooding again, fire continuing. I mean, we've been seeing fire left, right, and center. Like I told you in my other predictions, that there would be fire everywhere, accidents, and all of these things. And flooding as well has been happening prior to that. So on this day, 12th particularly, we will be hearing another event, pertaining to fire and or flooding altogether. However, this also marks a day whereby a lot of people, a whole lot of people, will feel like they've achieved something, like whatever they've been working on. Now they feel like they can see the direction and they can claim that achievement for themselves at this time. It is also indicating that some people will start to get into new modes, that is in terms of the activities or in terms of the chapter in their relationships, particularly those who have been going through a rough patch. Now it becomes a time for, just try to make a change. But generally, because like I explained in my previous videos, Venus and Jupiter together, they still give a strife. They don't give a kumbaya, harmonious, despite the fact that they both harmonics. I explained in my previous videos. And so with that said, there would also be a feeling of, being pessimistic at times for some people, particularly those who don't get their way. Now, because we're talking about Gemini, a dual sign, this is why we're getting the good and the bad, literally both two things being presented or being expected. So high achievements on this side and floods and scorching and pessimistic ideas and vibe on the other side, whereby some people are isolated. So this is why it's always important to understand your signs, because dual signs like this, they will give you both ends to the stick at any given time. So it is never safe to give one prediction at such things, particularly at these degrees that they in. or that they're going to be in Venus and Jupiter on top of each other as well. Now, remember, Adra is also about a diamond, a jewel, like I explained in my previous videos. It is not only about crying and weeping and wailing, gathering your lost things. No, it is also about revival of, your, like from your dirt, right? Finding your treasure within your dirt, finding your treasure within your troubles, finding your treasure within your challenges, and just being unbreakable and like untouchable. Basically, people can just view you and throw dirt, but once that water comes off and washes that dirt off, they will all see how brilliant you are, how beautiful you are, how precious you are, just like the diamond, right? So again, showing you that duality of the Gemini sign, getting both parts of the bargain. Now, it is also important to note the movement of Sun on these dates. So Sun will be getting closer, very close, like a week shy, in a few days shy actually, into completing its journey in Cancer. Now, Sun governments have experienced all of these emotions, the highs, the lows, the manipulations, the secrecy, the secret moves they have planned in secret to relax those who wanted to relax, communication revised, revamped, resent, because Mercury was also retrograde. So a lot of government bodies have had a chance to work and quietly, secretly making their moves, and watch out. Now, next week when Sun gets into Leo, this is when you will see exactly what they've been planning. But I'll come back and I'll deal with that, but for now I just wanted to tell you why it is important to mind the 10th, 11th, and the 12th. So what does it mean, or what can you do, or what should you do, right? Because remember, Venus is about relationships, love, affection, diplomacy as well, socializing with other people, just finding balance, and always, keeping the scale being balanced, right? And obviously, it's the character of the channel. We're all about relationships. So what it means is that there are, doors of communication that are going to shut and some are going to open, because as I said, it's going to introduce a change. This is a new chapter that we are getting here. It is the ending of all of the Adra things, and we're going to get into Purnavasu Nakshatra, which is about renewal, rejuvenation, finding hope again, seeing the light again. So here, a lot of people can safely now forgive and can safely, try to move on, agree with your partners or with your business partner if it's about business, whereby you say, okay, let's agree to disagree and find a point that we can look forward to and work towards as a team. Even in a relationship, you're still a team. You and your partner, you and your wife, you and your husband, you're still a team. And because when the Purnavasu Nakshatra starts on the 13th, this is a new leap. Literally, this is a new ground for just bringing positivity into your love, into your relationships, into your direction as a couple, as business partners, as family members, as countries, diplomacy, all of these things happening, right? So because also Venus will also be joining Mercury quite soon in Cancer, but again, we'll deal with that at a later stage. Now let's take a deeper look at that Sun there, because it is holding a whole lot of secrets that I'd like to share with you. Now let's take a quick break. But firstly, why must we focus on the Sun? Sun represents purpose in general. This is what our soul is here to do, or is showing what needs to be done. And so it becomes quite important, but particularly when it comes to the geopolitical synastry, it becomes obviously the government, and they decide which direction life is going, as much as the soul Sun in our personal charts show us the direction of where our lives are going. And so looking at Sun in its ending parts of in these final stages of Cancer, here it becomes quite domineering. Why? Because it is preparing to go into its own seat, like in Leo. When you are about to reach home, you necessarily, you don't care much about talking to your neighbors. You're all thinking about getting home, so you're gonna do things very, very quickly and with a bit of impatience. So this is what's happening as well, or what's going to be happening as well, particularly with those who are our bosses or our dads or the government bodies. They're quite impatient. They just want to give direction, rules, and they don't want to negotiate because they no longer in the state of negotiation. They want to get the rules layered to prepare for sitting on the throne, getting into the Leo sign. And so I do see that on the 10th, and there could be news obviously about I say obviously because this is how we confirm things through the mainstream media. There could be news about a judgment. So it would be a judgment relating to a leader, or that is directly involving a leader. So the judgment would be domestic. So it wouldn't be like a foreign involved judgment. So it would be within the domestic parts, like country, and mostly relating to younger person, or maybe communication. You know how in some countries they are executing some people in terms of being spies, those types of vibes, whereby the judgment is based or is sent out because of a communication that was sad or media related, or even maybe a younger person, as I said. So that is coming up, and it's going to be on the 10th. Now I also do see as I said, people just being pushy in terms of what they want at this time, impatient. They are agitated. There's a high agitation now to get into the comfort zone, because remember, from the 13th things change literally for everyone. many doors will be opened, so much healing will happen. Things will feel like they've gone into place, because even sun will be at its throne. So the king back to his palace, and just people feeling that vibe again, that hope again, that creativity again, that entertainment, that drive to create, drive to go out on dates, drive to have kids, make babies, so lots of hope is coming, not only from that Jupiter and Venus, which will be leaving the Andra, but with Sun as well, that is about to get into Leo. So this is what I wanted to send out to you, this message that hope is on the way. Help is on the way, right? So that is quite evident here. But on the 11th, I also do see some news regarding to a country not wanting to make a decision, that they have to make a decision, like they are expected to make a decision, but they are highly indecisive at this time, and they don't want to take a step. So maybe they're waiting, and they've been given a second chance. That's the thing. They are being reminded for the second time of being given a second chance into coming into an agreement, but they're hesitant. And so that's on the cards for the next 3 days, 10th, 11th, and the 12th, right? So what is the time now? Almost midnight, still the 8th of August. So there's still the 9th until these things take place. So what other things I needed to talk to you about are regarding the within these dates, obviously, of course, are regarding to communication that could be demanding a third party, which is like a friend, so if you are literally at a point in your relationship whereby you feel like you've been talking but you're not getting anywhere, it is a good time, particularly the 10th and the 11th, to call a friend or call somebody that you really trust to be that third comforter in the relationship, now to ease the atmosphere in terms of the emotions. If the emotions are high, flying high, depending on your chart, obviously this is a chart to chart basis thing, but it would be quite useful at this time, particularly even motherly figures that are maybe your friends. You call them and you just ask for advice at this time, because it is highly likely that they could give the comforting aspect that would be needed. I also do see that on the 12th, we're definitely going to get news regarding India. Everything I've predicted regarding to India, every detail has come into life. So I just wanted to, I need to make just an India analysis of what is going to happen this year, because as I said previously, I was seeing quite a lot of movement, and those movements, they happened right on time and exactly like I saw them. But again on the 12th here, I do see India coming into another scrutiny, or being on the news, being talked about again here, and it's going to it's going to involve authority again, and at this time it's going to be domestic authority or domestic policy that is needs to be changed. So there is a change of policy, domestic policy or authority that needs to be changed, or that is forced to change. This is what I'm seeing here because of the opponents. Because remember, because of the opponents, because of the Mars that is actually in Virgo. I said it previously as well, and I already said a whole lot of things that were going to affect India regarding to that Mars, and they've started to happen in a whole lot of huge stages. But on the 12th, India is definitely on the news for sure. And India is under pressure right now. A lot of pressure. It is under pressure. It is it is under pressure, and things are going to start to be a little bit manageable when it comes to the government once that sun moves into Leo. But let me catch you on another video whereby I just focus on India. I do know that third in terms of percentage of my audience comes from India. So I have the US, then I have Europe, then I have India, then I have other parts of the world. So I'll check this part, and for now, let me say thank you. I'll chat to you soon. A bientôt.